up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So we are going to recap 90 Day the Single Life, the tell-all, the first part that they had on today, and we are going to recap Big Ed and Liz. So Liz showed up, and Liz and Ed, they broke up 1 month before the tell-all. So of course they had Liz come to the tell-all, even though Big Ed was praying to God that Liz didn't show up, because he was saying it was just too soon for them to see each other. Big Ed showed up, and he was just acting like a total D-bag. He was asking Colt, is it okay that I call you Colty, because that's how I refer to you as? And he asked Colt Vanessa how it is living with Colt's mom. And then Ed told Colt that he pulls more fish out of water than anyone he knows. And Colt and Vanessa were just like, WTF? And Colt said, was that supposed to be a compliment? And Big Ed's like, no. And so things went super bad when Ed rushed Liz into meeting his daughter super early on in the relationship. Liz says she feels like Big Ed was rushing everything and moving so fast the whole time. And she was afraid to tell him no because she claims she didn't want to lose him, so she just went along with everything. So after they got together, it's like Ed quit listening to her and wanted his daughter to meet Liz so bad, so fast. So then Liz and Ed took a trip to Vegas, and while they're in Vegas, they went to meet Ed's daughter Tiffany, and of course she was being extremely rude to Liz the whole time and made the whole encounter everything but easygoing. And so that night Ed decided to take Liz to the club where his daughter Tiffany and one of her friends were, and like I said, Tiffany was being rude earlier, and she continued on being rude, and she was worse at the club according to Liz. And Ed's daughter Tiffany was talking bad about Liz to her friend all night at the club, so Liz got upset, and Big Ed kept asking Liz what was wrong, and she didn't want to talk about it in front of the crowd because they were surrounded by hella people. So she kept telling Ed she didn't want to talk about it, blah, blah, blah. And Big Ed, you know, he's just a chatty Cathy, and he loves to talk, and Liz just shuts down. So Big Ed kept pressing Liz the remainder of the night by asking her what was wrong. And what happened to make Liz start acting the way she did, because she started acting different after she got upset after she overheard Tiffany talking smack about her to her friend. So finally they got in a huge fight at the club, and they went back to the hotel, and Liz wanted to talk about it, so Big Ed stepped out of the hotel room and acted like he was calling to book a plane ticket to leave Las Vegas early and just like leave Liz behind stranded in Vegas. So Liz said she freaked out, and she went ahead and went online and booked a $400 plane ticket back to California, and she just up and left. Kind of find out Big Ed never booked a plane ticket. He was just pissed off and being a D and just fake being on the phone with the airline to get a ticket to ditch Liz. So they brought Tiffany to the tell-all, and I guess she was wearing a blazer that was super similar to Liz's, so she freaked out and changed into her blue blazer before coming onto the stage. I just think Tiffany is a huge mean girl that thinks she's better than everyone else, and it just, I can't stand people like that. So Liz and Ed broke up over 6 to 7 times over the course of their short relationship. Tiffany, Ed's daughter, feels like Big Ed just went for Liz for the attention, and Big Ed claims that Liz was taught to fight, not be loving and affectionate. And Big Ed told Liz that he wasn't going to be with Liz if she didn't give him more of her time. And you know, Liz was working 60 hours a week. She's a mom. So Liz said she took time to get to know Ed for who he was as a person, not who he was on social media. And she claims she didn't watch Big Ed's season with Rose until after they broke up. So Big Ed said before the tell-all started that he had a huge crush on Fernanda, and he thinks she's a total knockout. And when he met her, he was like, oh my God, you're so tall and so beautiful. And then, okay, at the end of the tell-all, Ed and Liz were telling each other, I love you, I miss you, blah, blah, blah. And then Fernanda dropped a bombshell and said that Big Ed had hit her up and wanting to get Fernanda's roommate's number so he could get to know her and take her out on a date. That was just recently. So Liz wasn't happy about that, and there's going to be more continued in the next episode. That was just a spoiler for the second part of the tell-all, which I'm excited. It looks like that part's going to be even more juicier than this week's tell-all. Okay, so finally Ed admitted that Liz and his relationship moved way too fast after everybody kept pressing him about how fast he was moving. So it didn't have a chance, is what Ed said, and he said that everything Liz had said was true. So Ed claims he was so excited for the first time in 29 years that he had somebody that was interested in him, and he was so afraid for anyone to like Liz. So Ed said the minute that Liz said they were official boyfriend and girlfriend, Ed claims he stopped listening to Liz. Liz said Ed would tell her all the time that it wouldn't work out between them, and he had all these sugar babies. And I even saw this thing on a Instagram 90 Day Fiance like meme Instagram, and they have like news and gossip, and I guess they found like in a stripper Facebook group, this girl said that she gave Big Ed a lap dance, and 90% of the time he was trying to go farther than the lap dance. She had to like pull him away the whole time, and that's crazy. So Liz said that the month prior to the tell-all without Ed, things have just been hell. She was crying. Big Ed was crying. And Liz claims that Ed blocked her and went to Vegas and then ranted about his sugar babies. So this was only 2 days after they broke up. So Big Ed says he was trying to fill the emptiness in his heart from the breakup with Liz, and he swore he hasn't been with another woman. So he claims he's in therapy now, working on himself, and he's never been in therapy all his life. So Liz said that she got a text message from Ed saying that he was going to continuously go on dates until he found the one. And Liz said that's when she finally decided it was time to move on. So Sean, the host, kept asking what made them break up officially, and Liz said a lot of stupid stuff. They had different love languages, like he was really affectionate and she really wasn't, and they would drink all the time and get in stupid fights. And Ed moved Liz in and her daughter, and he held that over her head. So when he would get mad, every time he got upset, he would get mad and make her leave and like threaten to throw her out of the house. And you can't move someone in and do that where someone is in constant anxiety of losing their home. That's messed up, and that's no way to live. So Ed posted a picture with 2 girls 2 days after him and Liz broke up when he was in Vegas, and he said he did it for attention. So Ed admitted that he doesn't love himself, and then Debbie came out on the stage at the end. Savage Debbie, as her Instagram handle says. So Sean, the host, asked Debbie if she thinks Vanessa is the one for Colt, and she said yes for now. And she said 10 years in the future, she doesn't know. She can't predict the future, but for right now, she thinks they're perfect for each other. So Ed said his only fear was Vanessa might be marrying Debbie and not Colt, and he thinks Debbie needs her own independence where she lives her own life, and Vanessa and Colt need their own life. And Debbie said it would be no difference than if he has a roommate. And Debbie says she doesn't tell Colt what to do. And Ed said he's going to be honest. He thinks it's time for Colt to get off the nipple. And Debbie snapped and went 0 to 100 real quick. She went super savage and she said, F you, you get off the nipple. Well, you find someone your own age instead of this poor little girl, and pointed at Liz. And she said, why don't you go after someone your own age instead of this poor precious little girls that think he's something, but she has no idea what. And Debbie says Big Ed just wants a 20-year-old so he can brag to everyone that he's dating a 20-year-old. And asked Ed, why doesn't he find love instead of dating someone that is a kid? And Big Ed told Debbie that she babies Colt. And Debbie said, you don't know Ish. And asked Vanessa if she babies Colt. And Vanessa said, here and there. And then Debbie said, do I interfere in your relationship at all? And Vanessa just smiled. And Debbie told Big Ed, your mother lives with you. Your mother babies you by brushing your hair, putting the mayo in your hair, shaving Ed's back. And Debbie says she doesn't shave Colt's back like Big Ed's mother shaves his back, and she doesn't brush his hair and put in a little ponytail. And Debbie said Ed's mom shaved his back while he was naked in the shower, and Debbie hasn't seen Colt naked since he was 3, and she claimed Big Ed was the lowest of life. Debbie clapped back at Big Ed, and things got super juicy, and Big Ed really has no room to talk about people because he is the worst of the worst, and he lives with his mom too, so come on, man. And they went a little into Colt and Vanessa and a little bit about Terrence and Brittany's ex. And I'll go more into that in another video. But all the other couples or people they have for next week's part 2 of the tell-all. And then I'll do a recap of that also. So thank you for watching this video. Make sure you hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you haven't already.